Some time ago I watched a video by a YouTube channel called Accented Cinema about the creative mind and the creative world within Whisper of the Heart, a Studio Ghibli movie. And it touched me so much so because the reality of a creative person is just you're never really satisfied with what you've been able to accomplish. And so when Pixar's Soul came out in 2020, I sat down to watch it. And I was hit with the emotions that I was when I watched Whisper of the Heart the first time. But this time, I came to realise something about myself. I do not look after myself. And neither does Joe. And so that's why I want to talk about why creative people struggle and how we can stop that. The passionate dreamer. Now, the story of Soul is all about Joe, who dreams of being a musician, who gets to go up on stage and live his dream of performing with a band and being a jazz musician. But right now, he's just a school teacher. He is the passionate dreamer who holds his goal in such high esteem that he sees anything that isn't that dream as a lesser, in a sense. In Joe's case, with him having a job as a music teacher, to him, he sees it as something that's holding him back. He doesn't appreciate a student who, though passionate and has skill, doesn't really want to share it with the world. He sees his kids like music, but doesn't seem to think they care that much about it. All he cares about is reaching his dream more than anything else, even if it means struggling. He cares so much about his dream that he doesn't see the negatives that have come with it, that he then later experiences in the great beyond. His failures, the pushbacks, how sad and empty his life was. He hadn't achieved much, but to him, he'd achieved something. But to see the reality of it all led to his denial. And the fact that most artists and creative people experience, the struggling artist. Joe embodies the idea of the struggling artist, and it is something that we as creative people believe we need to do and to have to create our art. And it is a common misconception, and is something that is drilled into creative people from the get-go, with the whole idea of, if you want to create, you will and have to struggle to do so. Hannah Gadsby's comedy show Nanette has a really good segment where this is brought up, where a fella had an opinion on her taking medication for her depression, and how you shouldn't have to take medication because you're an artist. It's important that you feel, he said. If Vincent van Gogh have taken medication, we wouldn't have had the sunflowers. And of course she then goes on to debunk the fact that Vincent van Gogh did medicate. He self-medicated because he was so unhappy. A lot of his portraits are even of his therapists. But everything that this man said to her is what we as creatives have drilled into ourselves. We believe that if we aren't struggling, we aren't doing our job right. It's at this point, and in the case of Soul, that we hit the reaching the dream section. We work ourselves to the bone, push ourselves day and night, waiting till we hit that goal. And unlike 22 in Soul, we haven't stopped to appreciate the life around us, because we only have this one goal in mind. So, when Joe reaches it, he feels underwhelmed, and we see this happen. We experience this devastation that everything that he's dreamt of isn't what he expected, because now that he's hit his goal, what does he do now? And this part hit me the most because I myself have been guilty of not being satisfied with my work. Some of you may know that last year I was published in fiction, having my own fiction piece published for the first time, and I was thrilled. I was so happy. But not even a week after getting that hard copy of the book with my piece in, I started calling it a small achievement. A published piece of writing, a small achievement. I was putting myself down because I thought I had to do better. And so I pushed myself and pushed myself and pushed myself. Joe will never be satisfied with his dream, because that's all he ever thought about and all he ever wanted. And now that he's got it, he doesn't know what to do next. And that's something I can relate to. I may have my dreams, but every so often I wonder, when I hit that dream, will I always be satisfied with it? Or will I just keep pushing myself? Because that's all I know creatives to do. We don't stop. We find something else to force ourselves to go towards. Which is where this final part comes in. Caring for the creative. 22 in soul is the reason why I've taken the time to care about myself. And not just my passions, but me as a person, my well-being, my mental health, my emotional health. Having goals and dreams is good, but not if it is all that consumes you. And that's something I'm still working on, and something I think I'll always still be working on, because that creative mindset that's been drilled into us since the start of people being creatives is always going to be there in the back of my mind, telling me that if I'm not struggling, I'm not being a creative person the way I should be. But Joe is heading that way now, and I hope that, just like 22, we can both stop to just live.